Salutations, people of the internet, welcome to the database. You know what I realized? A lot of early Kirby games seem to have a habit of releasing their games very late during a console's lifespan. Kirby's Adventure was released in 1993, 2 years after the launch of the Super Nintendo in 1991. Kirby 64 was released in the year 2000, close to 1 year before the launch of Nintendo GameCube. And as for this game's case, Kirby's Dream Land 3 was released in 1997, a year after the launch of the Nintendo 64 in 1996. Why was this the case? Well, maybe we should look deep into this game and see how releasing a game on an already outdated hardware will be used as a benefit. I know Kirby Superstar released the same year as the Nintendo 64, but if you look at the dates here, there's your answer. So Kirby's Dream Land 3 serves as the second part of the Dark Matter Trilogy, the second act for say. Whereas Kirby succeeded in defeating Dark Matter in Dream Land 2, his dark forces make their return, now bigger than ever in this new adventure. Kirby's old animal buddies from Dream Land 2 make their return here, plus Kirby also brought along new friends for the ride. New animal friends, new adventure, new enemies, bigger adventure. How will Kirby defeat Dark Matter for the second time? Let's not waste any time and get into Kirby's Dream Land 3, the second act of the Dark Matter Trilogy. Our story begins as Kirby is seen fishing with his friend Gooey, until a dark cloud resembling dark matter covers Popstar. Kirby summons all of his animal friends and sets off to save Popstar from this dark force, by collecting heart stars across 5 levels. Each level consists of 6 stages, all ending with a boss fight at the end of the level. Insert unspoken boss rule here. In order to get these heart stars, Kirby and company must complete a specific task that would make the character indicated in the stage select screen happy. These tasks follow a similar pattern, like the first stage of a level focuses on something involving a flower character, the third stage is a guessing game of sorts, the fourth stage sees Kirby finding a missing object for that person, the fifth stage requires you to pair yourself with the right animal companion, and so on. You still can proceed to the next stage without collecting the star's heart star, but that leaves you without discovering the true ending of the game. As Kirby and company reach to the final level of the stage, they must fight once again a possessed King Dedede, and with the power of all 30 heart stars, Kirby transforms it into a love stick and uses it to defeat Dark Matter. However, after the fight with Dark Matter, the master of all the Dark Matters reveals itself as this white orb being called Zero, a very creepy creature indeed. As Kirby deals enough damage to Zero, its white body gets destroyed and now you face against its bleeding eye, not to mention that it uses blood as projectiles against you earlier. How the f is this for kids? Or whatever. Defeating Zero, expelling the dark clouds across Popstar, ending Kirby's Dream Land 3. I need a moment. Didn't expect so much blood in my Kirby game. How about we transition to the next segment? Yeah? Cool. So I already mentioned the process of gathering this game's main MacGuffins, the heart stars. So now let's see how Dream Land 3 manages to improve its gameplay compared to Dream Land 2. As mentioned earlier, Dream Land 3 sees the return of Kirby's first 3 animal friends, as well as the introduction of Kirby's 3 new animal friends. I won't go too much in detail as to how the old friends change in this game, as they all act exactly the same as Dream Land 2, only having different effects when using copy abilities compared to that game. So instead I'll go over the 3 new animal friends we have here. There's Nago the cat, Pitch the bird, and Choo Choo the octopus. At least I think it's an octopus. Let's start with Pitch, because I have a lot to say about Nago. Pitch is a tiny green bird that is not so useful for flying, mainly because he's the one carrying Kirby, though his ground speed makes it up for it. One thing I did like to mention is the amount of copy abilities and animal friend combos there are in the game. So there are 9 copy abilities, all of them are from the same as the last game, with the exception of the new clean ability and the level up stick that is only used for the final boss fight. Compare those with the different combinations of the animal friends, there are a total of 48 combinations in Dream Land 3, twice as large as the last game thanks to the new animal friends. Choo Choo is the only female companion in the group, and she's okay. Depending on the copy ability you have, she is fun to use, like using her as fire to create this hot air balloon, or having her swing Kirby around when equipped with the stone ability. But her jumping sucks so much. You can only jump for a short amount of time, seeing as she'll be carrying Kirby until she can no longer carry him. What is with these two nerfing Kirby's signature jumping abilities and flying abilities? Sure, Choo Choo can stick up to ceilings and climb, but I'd rather be flying and reach high areas instead. Now I saved Noggle for last, mainly because he's my favorite animal companion in this new set. Cootie Owl is good too, but when I noticed they nerfed his use of the cutter ability, I got sad for a bit and hid in a corner in a fetal position. Why'd they do this to me? But Nago is good too. He's basically a better Rick. And well, yeah, Rick now has this new ability to wall jump in a short fashion. Nago can double jump. And I say that's way better for platforming than what any of the other animal friends have. Like in Dreamland 2, there are specific blocks in the game that can only be destroyed with the right copy ability. Now in Dreamland 3, these blocks are now indicated with unique symbols that you can see on the bottom left corner of the screen. Thankfully, while you still lose your copy ability after taking a hit, this game is generous enough to let you keep it until you're hit a couple more times. Though in exchange for this, your invincibility frame has shrunken down, leaving you vulnerable to a chain of attacks by enemies. Health items are now even more sparse now that the maximum tomato and energy drinks appear in the jumping minigame. And something that I forgot to mention in Dreamland 2, you can collect these tiny stars that will grant you 1-ups. I hate this boss fight. What is his name? Arco? It took forever to finish during the second phase, and yeah, that's another thing. All the boss fights in this game have a phase 2. Many of the levels have unique set pieces that make each stage stand out from each other. Like in the third level, Sand Canyon, where not only do you have your typical desert stages, but for Rob the Robot mission, you find his robo parts within this black pyramid, or an iceberg from typical snowy stages to the giant tower that resembles Zero's red eyeball. Many of these bosses fit the theme of the level as well, as Addo in level 4 is filled with past Kirby references, mainly past bosses from the previous Dreamland game. Upon completing the story of Kirby's Dreamland 3, you may notice that your save file is at 97% in completion. Well, head on over to the option menu and it's where you'll find a set of sub-games to complete. The M's in the menu stand for MG5, where you play all 5 minigames in a row, and all 5 of them are harder than a normal campaign. Getting all correct in all 5 minigames will unlock the jumping minigame, seen in the menu as the letter J. It's the same game seen as the end of every stage. You only need to land on the yellow spaces and avoid all the needle enemies. Finally, there's a boss push, seen as the letter B. This is a boss endurance mode where you fight all the bosses in a row with limited health and no extra lives. It's one way to replay all the bosses again, seeing as you can't fight them in the main campaign. Completing all sub-games and getting 100% on your profile rewards you with a sound test. How original. Well, I'll be damned. That's a Metroid in a Kirby game. Don't worry, the Metroids don't hurt you, although this mission requires you to freeze them. And look, it's Samus Aran. Hey look, there's even the fire flowers for Super Mario games. That's so cool. I get there isn't much to say for extra content in this game other than talking about the visuals for this game. This is the only Kirby game that I know of that uses a color palette art style, and it makes the game so beautiful. Almost forgot that this game is 16-bit. While the game features a lot of beautiful imagery, that doesn't stop them from giving us some of the darkest yet creepiest imagery in the Kirby game at this time. You'll come across dark enemies that take form of fake doorways, black balls that turn into giant spiders, and yes, those are dead Waddle Dees in a jar. Moving on. My final grade for Kirby's Dreamland 3 is a solid A. It's a good game overall, although the process of getting all 30 heart stars can make or break your experience with the game. Some heart star missions are easy to understand, like the flower missions and the minigame missions, while there are going to be missions that require you to play the same stage more than once, or require specific copy ability and animal buddy combinations to get access to it. So if you don't have the right thing at the right time, you're gonna start from the beginning. But aside from that, the game is still fun overall. The animal friends, while some aren't so great, are still fun as ever to use. And Coo the owl and Nago the cat became two of my favorite animal buddies because of these Dreamland games. Both animal buddies have the best combos in the game, and while I still use Kind for water sections, Coo and Nago have always been my go-to animals for a majority of my runtime. The runtime for this game as a whole is kind of on par with Dreamland 2, maybe double if you plan on getting all 30 heart stars to see the game's good ending. Sadly, getting 100% on your save file isn't really worth it, as your only rewards are sound tests and a way to watch cutscenes, plus they're all locked behind minigames that are deemed optional. But hey, I guess it's someone's bang for their buck. For me, I'll just stick with Superstar and Superstar Ultra. So what are your thoughts on Kirby's Dream Land 3? Do you think it's better than Dreamlands 1 and 2? Who's your favorite animal buddy? Let me know down in the comments. Next time on the Summer of Kirby Marathon, we'll be going backwards for a bit and look at the first Kirby game to feature all these copy abilities you've been seeing so far. We'll be looking at Kirby's Adventure on the NES and its remake, Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland on the Game Boy Advance. Thumbs up the video if you like it, subscribe to the database, and follow me on social media as seen above. I'm Christopher James, and I'll see you next time.